One of the greatest things that happened to us was the friendship that we have together, along with Jimmy Nelson and Dave Ward and some other crossline people that we've all kind of grown and learned from. There's nobody that I know that is just more real and has more energy and passion for people and doing this the right way than Mike Ryan does. And so I'm honored to be up here with him. And we're honored to be in front of there's more than 2,000 people in this room, right? That aren't sitting their ass at a pool getting a tan. I love it. So Mike.
So you guys have to realize that Tommy and I met each other in Summit 2009, knowing nobody. Right? How many people in here first Summit? Show of hands. Whoa! That's amazing. First Summit, right? It's a lot to take in. Our first Summit had, what about one-fourth, a third of this many people?
Yeah, the first Summit that we were at was 800 people.
800 people?
And at that point, I was just happy to see my feet. I didn't know anything about
I was having Tony Horton didn't kill me in the workout. I'm like, please don't let me die. I don't want to be that guy that is on the floor and can't get up. So Tommy and I, we met at Summit and we just became fast friends. We talked, we talked a little bit on the phone, talked a bit on email, and we just kept this thing going. And we have more value in the hallway time that we've got to share, and we've shared with so many of you. And anybody on my team, maybe Team Victory in the house today? Okay, you guys know the value of hallway time, and I know everybody else does in here too, because we're watching it happen. It takes a long time for some of us to walk the hall, and we want to stop and talk to everybody. But what's so cool is they do these breakout sessions, and you get to hear stories from Tommy that, I've heard, and I know these things, and they've changed my business. A conversation he and I had at leadership late one night as we were helping some other coach. I'm like, oh, there's an aha moment. I don't do that in my business. And that one little nugget that I got from Tommy changed my whole business, which means that all the people that are on our team, their lives better too. So the value that you get from Tommy, to me, is just priceless. I know we're two really fun-loving guys, and if you don't get movie lines, you probably won't get my humor, but that's okay.
I think that's what you guys need to realize is this. We're just like all of you, right? Yeah. Take the friggin' rank and take whatever crap that they put on our name tags and all that stuff. Take that and throw it out the door. We're real people from real places that started with absolutely no knowledge in network marketing, started from zero, built from a dead spot, never had anybody from our upline build our business for us. We had to do it all ourselves, right? And we've learned about this stuff because we spent the time engaging with other people. And so Mike's going to talk about a little bit about, get you introduced to what we're going to do today.
Yeah, so here's the thing with objections. So many people are looking for the anecdotal thing to say in response to the time excuse, the money excuse, the common things that we get, right? But we have to realize, and what you're going to learn today, and in 60 minutes you're going to walk away feeling pretty dang empowered, is that so much of the work is laid out before you get to those objections. It's my mission when I go through talking to somebody, truly to connect with them. It's not to go info dump. It's not to go, spew a bunch of P90X facts and 70 fun facts about Shakeology. It's to connect with you about your goals and dreams and how we can help you get there. And what you're going to find today is that the better the questions that you ask, and with a little bit of strategy in those questions, having a roadmap, if you will help you narrow the path so that you probably will find you don't really have many objections.
We're going to show you how to alleviate 80%, 90% of the objections that you get. Would you like that?
Oh, yeah.
It's up to you whether you like what we do or not. If you don't, that's cool too. So
yeah, what I look at in any personal development thing I go to is I'm always looking for one great takeaway, and I think that we could all probably agree today that John C. Maxwell blew the doors off this place with takeaways. And so, there are no new truths. And here's somebody who, what that guy represents is somebody who's amazingly well studied, he's amazingly well read, but he's amazingly well practiced. And he just keeps going and going, so he gets better and better and better. And I gotta tell you, I screwed up more presentations than you can imagine, and here we are presenting with 2,000 plus people in a room, and we're having to have a great time doing it.
This is like as big as my hometown. I love it.
It is. I've been to his hometown. There would be a water tower right over there.
Yeah, right there.
The next town.
And a cornfield over there, right?
Yeah. So one of the big key things here is that you have to be coachable. You need to be humble. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about the person whose life we want to change. When you embrace that, and when you embrace the feedback, and you take it as feedback, it's not criticism. No different than yesterday when we got done. I was at dinner and I had some good friends we had dinner with, and the first thing I asked them was, hey, you're in my presentation today. What can I do better tomorrow? I have the same thing tomorrow. No different than when I hit Superstar Diamond Coach, he and I spent 2 hours on the phone. I'm like, Tommy, help me out. I need some help. And we talked for hours that day.
2 hours. The day that he turned 15-star diamond, he and I get on a conversation. We've been success partners and buddies for 4 years now, right? And we're on the phone for 2 hours, and he's asking, hey, what can I do better? He's hit superstar diamond. How many of you would be like trying to collect your $35,000 bonus check instead of getting on the phone and learning about something?
So we all can get better. And when you achieve a goal, don't just stand there and go, oh, this is awesome, I'm gonna go sit on my couch now. It's like, okay, take a look around, you're at the top of the mountain, it's a beautiful view, soak it up, reflect on what you did, and then let's set another goal. Let's look past that. So we're gonna apply some really great things today that's gonna change some things.
And understand, not everything that we say today is that you're gonna get. Catch whatever's coming at you. The 2 or 3 things that are coming at you throughout the next 50 minutes, that's what you wanna take, that's what you wanna run with.
Okay, so probably the top 2 things that we get as objections would be time and money. Would you guys agree? Okay, so last time I checked, you don't get less than 24 hours in a day. Does anybody in here get less than 24 hours in a day? There should not be a show of hands, unless it's daylight savings time, I guess. So with that, you have to think about, like what I think about is I kind of ponder, what are these prolific people in our history and what have they done with their 24 hours in a day? And I think of all the time wasting that people do. I think about when I went broke in the real estate crash in 2008, lost everything we owned, ultimately in bankruptcy 35 months ago from now, 35 months ago. And you realize that we have places where we waste money. Where we spent, anybody buy a bottle of water in this hotel this weekend? You spent like $5 on some chilled water. I'm like, where's the freaking water fountain in a moist nap? I don't know. And so people waste time, people waste money. And so I don't really respect your time excuse, and I don't respect your money excuse a whole lot. And so when, I built this business from being millions of dollars in debt, and it just means I had a big why. And so when I communicate with people about this, my goal is, a not nice way to put it is kind of pigeonholing them. It's to ask them enough questions to make them realize they have the time so that they can't use that against you. And I don't know how many people, when you have somebody who seems like they want to buy a challenge pack, say, well, you know what, give me a call on payday. Maybe you ever get the payday excuse? Right, that's pretty common too. And it's like the 2-week thing, just the 2-week you to death. And so what we're gonna do today is demonstrate the preemptive attack, if you will, to how to get there. Fitness level wise, that's an easy one too. Somebody asked yesterday about people that are super fit. And I'm like, you know what, if I meet somebody who's super fit, they're just as easy to recruit as somebody who's super fat and somebody who's just down the middle. It doesn't matter. Everybody needs what we have. And we're going to show you different ways to attack that. Mm-hmm. So there's something I came up with. There's one misspelled word, but here's something I came up with. It's called the 7 R's. I didn't misspell it, but that's okay. And so think about this for a second. If we sit down next to each other at Little League and we're watching the kids play ball, and I sit down and I start telling you, hey, you need to take my challenge. Hey, you need to buy Shakeology. Hey, you ever heard of P90X? It's awesome. You're going to get really super sore. You're not going to be able to walk right tomorrow. You ever heard of Shakeology? That stuff's great. People say it wrong sometimes, Shakeology, PX90. And so they go in and they start trying to recommend. And then the problem is they didn't have any rapport or relationship ahead of that. Mm-hmm. And even if this is somebody on Facebook that you went to high school with and you haven't seen them in 15 years, 20 years, you need to know what they've been up to. You have to reestablish some rapport and relationship. Because even if I played soccer or golf or something in high school with that guy, that doesn't mean that he still does those things today. He might be a farmer. He might be a doctor. Might be a teacher. His life might be 100% different than it was when we were kids. So who am I to assume that I know his situation? And unfortunately, when we get so many coaches that ask us, hey, what do you say when somebody says this? Instantly what comes to mind for both of us, I think I'll speak for you on this, is that you just didn't ask enough questions in the first place. Yeah. Now, there are times where you didn't have enough time to do it. You're in the checkout line at Target, you're at the grocery store, somebody's late to get a kid picked up and you just don't have time to make the exchange, that's okay. But in a normal situation where you do have enough time, most often when you follow this path, you're gonna realize that you put rapport and relationship first, then you make your recommendation. So in the rapport and relationship, we've caught up. We know a little bit more about what's going on with you. We form you, we talk about your family, occupation, recreation. And then after the recommendation, they get signed up for a challenge and you're gonna retail, that says retain, it's retail is the next one. Rapport, relationship, recommendation, retail. Then recruit, then retain. then you repeat it. Those are the
You guys got
7
that?
R's.
Write them down, 1 through 7, right?
Everybody in the back, you got that too? It's kind of hard to see from back there. So rapport, relationship, recommendation, retail, recruit, retain, repeat. Now, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Has anybody ever seen one of the most viewed TED Talks of all time from Simon Sinek? Right? It's the Start With Why. It's been viewed like 40 million times. It's 18 minutes, it'll change your life. It's on this topic, and here's what it is. Most people go out and they lead with the products. They lead with P90X stories, Shakeology stories, T25 stories are going to be the next thing. That's the what. Okay? Then sometimes you run into people and he might say, oh, well, I'm a computer tech guy for this hospital and I'm a pretty computer savvy guy. And you start talking to him about social media. Oh, it'd be really easy for you to do this and blah, 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 blah. You're just talking about the how. Social media, person to person, that's your how. They don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. They don't care that you're doing P90X. They want to know, why are you doing P90X? Because it makes me feel good, because I sleep better, because I have a clear thought process, because my attorney friends that are in the room who show up to court and they feel great because they had a great nutritious breakfast, Shakeology, and they worked out that morning. The hip campus, like Tony Horton talks about, the hip campus part of your brain's flowing all the good, healthy stuff. Life's feeling good. They're sharper on their feet. That's a win-win for that day. So we connect with them about why you do it. Don't share what you're doing, share why you do it. And we all get that common innocuous greeting every day of, hey, what's up? Or hey, how you doing? And most people answer that greeting wrong. They don't even listen. Hey, what have you been up to? Good. Like, what the heck? That's not what I asked you. It's like the fast food person, is it for here to go? And sometimes you'll go to Starbucks and they say, is it for here to go? I say, is it to here or for go? And they're like, what? You changed what I say. What do you want? I don't know what to do. Just hand me the coffee. It's okay. Right? And so what happens is you want to give them a simple, quick drop in, like a simple hint of here's what I've been up to, right? So Tommy, ask me how I'm doing. Right? What I've been up to.
Hey man, what have you been up to?
Hey, oh man, I'm doing great. I've been doing that that P90X thing from TV? I'm doing their other one called Insanity. Dude, I'm feeling so freaking good. I've been sleeping like the best I've slept in years. Hey, what are you up to?
Nothing really.
Okay, so what happens is I drop in the subtle hint. It took about 6 seconds to just drop the hint of a unique answer to the same question we get many, many times a day. Now, if you want to, and then you make the conversation all about them. That's when you go through forming, which somebody else taught the forming class, so we won't go through that. But you have to lead with why. You have to lead with your heart. And anybody who just stayed and heard Tracy Morrow speak, she leads from the heart. You know that because a lot of you aren't going to remember what we said anyway, but you're going to remember how we made you feel. Because we're genuine and we're 100% sincere, and that's what's going to come across. So, more importantly than what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. Be genuine, be confident. And the fastest little tell on this is, and you can test this on your friends while you're here the rest of this weekend, pay somebody a compliment and see if they accept it or not. Okay, so anybody that knows the Wards, Monica and Dave Ward, great, great friends of ours. We've been all over the world with them. Monica paid me a compliment one time about 1.5 years ago, and I didn't accept it. She said something like, oh, you're looking great, or you look nice, or something like that. I said, oh, no, it's you. You look great. Look at you, man. You've been working out like a champ. And she was pissed. And I'm like, I felt bad because I offended her. And I'm like, that's the last thing I would have wanted to do. And so she schooled me on this, and I owe her a lot for this because it's helped our team a great deal too. And what it was is that I was taking away from her the one thing that she wanted. Something that she saw in me at that moment, she was either inspired by, or she was inspired by, or she aspired to have. Right? So when somebody pays you a compliment and says, man, you look super fit, what have you been doing? Like, oh no, man, I got a lot of work to do. I'll get there someday. You literally stole that moment from them, and it looks like the balloon. Just picture the balloon going fluttering away. And that person was your best contact, your best lead you probably had in the last long time. There was a connection that they saw something in you, and then you go through the rest of the process like John C. Maxwell talks about and finding they have the right qualities and those type of things. So,
can I give one example of this? So the bait happens with us specifically, right? So when someone brings up a product maybe to you, or you bring up a product to them, the bait for us is we want to lead with what, which is to product vomit on them, to jump all over what the product is. Does that make sense? What we have to do is slow down and get into why it works or why we use it or what it's done for us from an emotional standpoint. Does that make sense? So slow yourself down. Anytime you feel yourself wanting to product vomit on people and pull out that, customer whack-a-mole, the product whack-a-mole where they bring up P90X and go whack! And you hit them in the head. Just bring it back to why. And then flip it on them and ask a question. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Why do you ask?
Yeah, and then you're going to get into tell me more about that. We're going to do some role playing and show you what we're talking about. So the big thing is that we're relating to people. Okay, it's just simply being relatable. And when we are, all of us here today should be collectors of stories. So when you help somebody go through your challenge group, your goal is to help them get great results. There's another story to catalog for you. Get their pictures, they make a little transformation video, put it on your blog site. That's your credibility that says, look, I know what I'm doing. Not only did I get great results, look what Janet did, look what Bob did, look what I did for Bill. These guys were awesome, they kicked butt, and I'm gonna do the same thing for you. And so I like to make sure I match the stories up. Now for all the people that are newer coaches that maybe even haven't coached somebody through a challenge group yet, teambeachbody.com has all these amazing transformation stories, all the transformation winners that are out there. And so go learn those stories and make sure that, I don't share an obese guy, skinny guy, muscle build stories, and I don't share the skinny guy weight loss stories. We try to match people up, and that's a big key thing in relating to people. So this is a key one you definitely need to write down. Facts tell and stories sell. Another tree analogy with the axe, like John Z. Maxwell was talking about today, the story I thought he was going to tell was that picture that your prospect that you're talking to is a tree. And every time you say a fact, you're digging that axe in there nice and sharp. Every fact, you're just cutting that tree down. You're killing your deal. Okay, so you have to be a master of telling stories. Has anybody in here ever watched a movie? You ever read a book? There's a lot of hands that aren't going up. Seriously, you don't have TV? You're liars. So think about it. We've all told stories. We told a story about what we did last night. We told a story about the great golf shot you hit. You told a story about a great workout or how sore you are, whatever it is. You start getting good at telling stories. Guess what stories have? They have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Make sure they have an end. Don't go too far on those. If you need help with telling stories, probably one of the best books on that topic is Tell to Win by Peter Guber, self-made billionaire, the guy that bought the Dodgers. Amazing book, Tell to Win. And, he was featured in Success Magazine one time as the speaker on the little audio disc that comes in there. And he told the story about how Magic Johnson came into his office to sell him on opening this chain of movie theaters. And so Peter Guber's telling the story. He says, Magic Johnson wants to make a meeting. He's like, hey, it's Magic Johnson. Of course I want to meet Magic Johnson. I'm a big sports fan. Magic comes in, tells him about this country where they have these moviegoers who are very, very social people, and they don't care about the reviews. If the new great movie's coming out and they want to see it, they're just going to go see it. And the interesting thing is, if they don't like it, they don't tend to tell anybody. But if they do like it, they tend to tell everybody. Mm-hmm. And then he goes, weirdest thing, he goes, they spend 2.5 times ticket price on concessions, which, it's where we make all our money. Guber cuts him off and says, whoa, imagine, where is this? Is it Qatar? Is it Mexico City? Where is it? I want to go there. Let's build movie theaters there. This is perfect demographics. He goes, it's 6 miles down the street in South Central LA. Right, so do you want to open with, hey, I've got an MLM for you to look at? That's ghetto fabulous. You don't, never, right? So he sold him on that. But guess who just bought the Dodgers? Magic Johnson and Peter Guber bought the LA Dodgers. So when you understand the history behind how did they get together as business partners, that's a pretty important story for you to know. Because you don't realize who you may be connecting with, who's that person's life that you're going to change. I mean, I sold the guy that was the trustee of the court that did our bankruptcy, the guy that they said, don't talk when you're in court, it's only yes or no answers, period. And if you say anything else, seriously, just don't say anything else. You felt like you're going to be an objection sheet or something like that. And then the guy, I'll say the whole story so we're tight on time, but the guy ends up buying P90X for me later that night from bankruptcy court. I made a lead in bankruptcy court. Are you kidding me? We're just people. We have the same issues. We want to be alive. We want to be healthy. You want to look good, feel good, love good, be well, treat people well, respect. We all have the same needs. So tell those stories. Get good at telling the stories, and you got to be willing to fail. And in the process of this, you need to narrow the path. So there's another great book that's called Switch by the Heath brothers. And Dan and Chief Heath go through and talk about how a person is like, picture an elephant with a rider. The elephant is your emotion, and the rider is your rational side. Now you need both to make this work. You have to steer and guide the elephant. But obviously the elephant's such a powerful beast, and it'll overpower you like that. So in the book they talk about how, kind of like how people buy on emotion and they justify with facts. If anybody ever bought a home and you walked in and you're like, oh my God, I love this place, I gotta have it. That was emotion, then they justified it with facts like, did it appraise? How are the comps? Is it, are we overpaying for the neighborhood? Are the interest rates good? Fact. That came second. So you get people wrapped up in the emotion of the thing, how they're gonna feel better, look better, and what's it gonna be like when you lose 35 pounds? Because losing 35 pounds isn't the answer. It's what are you gonna feel like when you've lost that weight? What's that gonna be like for you? Tell me more about that. And then you wanna narrow the path. So I don't give people the website and say, here, pick a challenge pack. What are there, 20-something challenge packs? There's a lot. We need to ask enough questions, and let's get this down to 2 choices, and one that shines. Maybe you might even just give them one and just make a strong recommendation. That, hey, it sounds like, with what you talked about, that, time is tight, you want a little bit of cardio, you want a little bit of weight, you know what, T25 is going to be the right thing for you because it's, 25 minutes a day, 5 days a week. We have stuff that's shorter, like 10-minute trainer, but this one's going to get you results on your schedule. You narrow that path. If you give them too many choices, they tend to never act. So, does anybody in here want to go through the whole process of meeting somebody on Facebook or somebody at the grocery store, Little League, having all that conversation, all that back and forth, to have no response? It kind of sucks, right? So, don't give them too many choices because that's the fastest way to kill it at that point of the deal. And the way that we learn this is just from unwinding our failures of killing deals. And I gotta tell you, in 2009, when I really hit the business hard, I talked more people out of it than I ever talked into it. I literally, except for my wife, I have nobody to show for prior to October of 2009. Mm-hmm. Nothing. So, let's make sure that we are narrowing the path, keeping this really simple for them. And
one good way to do that, guys, is there's 2 ways that you could do this, what Mike is explaining with narrowing the path. The first way is you're going to talk to anyone and go put them through a process to determine what pack might be right for them, okay? The second way that I know a lot of coaches successful coaches use, is to be specific about the type of person you're looking for, right? So if you're going to look for people, maybe I'm looking specifically for people who would like to lose up to 20 pounds in the next 60 days. Or need to lose 50 pounds or more in the next 90 days that are willing to be in an accountability group. Maybe I'm looking for a specific person, so now when I'm having a conversation, I'm actually going to interview them to see whether or not they fit my category of what I'm looking for. Does that make sense? Okay? So either way, you're being specific and you're narrowing the path of, you're putting them through that funnel. Does that make sense? It's just,
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about, I gotta see where we're at. I was so into what Mike was saying. So here's the thing. So it's one thing for us to stand up here and tell you, use stories. It's one thing to tell you, okay, ask questions. Very rarely have we ever got up in front of 2,000 of the most amazing coaches that actually have sacrificed time and money to get themselves to Summit to role play and show you exactly how we do it. So what I'm going to do is take this 5-step process. How many of you have heard of the 5-step process? You use the 5-step process. How many of you think it sucks? And be honest. I want honesty, right? And it's typically, and some of you are like, this sucks, So the stuff that we had out there with the 5 steps was what we kind of created within our team 2 years ago. That's how the 5 steps came out, right? And within our team, we've been continuously progressing. And so we've been role playing and getting better with step 2 about how we funnel people through step 2 on fitness, nutrition, and support so that we can evaluate where they're at and then plug them into the right resource. Right. Does that make sense? So the 5-step process, the reason that we do it is, the reason that I use it, and the reason that I recommend that my team learns it and uses it as well is because it duplicates, right? Someone that has no knowledge, at least it gives them an order. How many of you have went out there and all of a sudden you get in a conversation about Beachbody or about Insanity or about Shakeology and you go, right into the whole deal about the stuff before you even ask questions. And how well does that work for you? Not very, right? It doesn't. And the reason that I know that is because I spent the first 2 years as a coach screwing deals up because I was so overly enthusiastic about P90X that whenever somebody asked me about it, I gave them a 30-minute dissertation on every disc in the whole friggin' set. Right?
Guilty.
Right? And then I'd be like, oh my God, dude, it totally kicks your ass. You're gonna love it. There's not a lot of people out there that want to jump in the get your ass kicked bucket. There's not. Okay? Think of it this way. Because I think we have to understand, we're in the Beachbody bubble. We're already drinking the Kool-Aid, right? Okay? We are. The people outside of our Beachbody bubble don't get it, right? So if we try to vomit our enthusiasm on it, they're gonna get it even less. I'll give you another example. How many of you know that there's a culture and a community around the Harry Potter movies? Right? How many of you are like, screw that, I don't want nothing to do with it? Right? I'm that way. I am not a science fiction. Now my wife, as amazing and as beautiful as she is, sends me to the movie thing and says, honey, can you get, I want to watch all 3 Harry Potter movies. And I'm like, no, hell no. You're going to be watching it with the dog, baby, because I'll go over here to Facebook and start recruiting somebody. Okay? Because the thing is, I didn't get it. And if all of a sudden they start, if someone that was in the Harry Potter community blasted at us, the ones that don't like it, about what's so great about it, the only way she got me to that movie was she slowed down and she says, so let me ask you something. She asked me questions. She stepped to me on Harry Potter. She did. She steps in, she goes, well, honey, first of all, I can totally understand that you're not into it, but let me ask you something. Have you ever even tried watching it? No? So, what do you have, what do you have against something that you've never even tried? Who influenced you to be against this stuff? You know, right? So my wife she step twos me. She used my own shit to get me to like Harry Potter. Right? I'm going, it's crazy. So the thing is, it works. The 5 steps work. So let's go through those 5 steps and then we're going to role play it for you. So in the 5-step process, it allows us to prevent objections. It allows us to navigate around them before they even happen, because it takes us out of the equation and makes it about the other person and their needs. Okay? And if our mission is to help people, then we need to make it about people. If we make it about products, you don't lead products to people, you lead people to products. You guys understand that? When you use the 5 steps, it'll help you learn how to do that in a more professional way that's actually serving the other person. And when you sign up a new coach that has no people skills or nothing, it at least gives them a chance before they go out and screw up the first 100 people that they talk to, right? So, the 5-step process. So, the first step is inviting. We talk about inviting all the time. There's multiple ways that you can invite people. So, here's what I want you to do first, okay? When you're out in public, how many of you go out in public? That's pretty much all of you. How many of you don't? How many of you are hermits? Like the Unabomber or something.
Why are their hands?
There's a couple.
You just related to the Unabomber.
You know,
it's horrible.
What? You know what the best, you want to know how I invite people into a conversation? Just smile. How many of you know how to smile? Okay, that's the best way. A smile and a hello. A smile and hello, right? Hey, how are you doing? What's going on? Where are you from? And we're going to role play how to do that. And we do that to build a relationship first. So that's the first thing, is inviting people to build a relationship. Write that down, because he talked about it. Relationship first, business follows. That's how Danny Johnson talks about it, right? That's where I learned to talk about relationship first, business follows. And she's personally mentored me in this way, which is why I'm a lot better than I was 3 years ago, right? When we're out there in public, one of the reasons that we provoke objections, write that down too, objections are typically provoked. We can either provoke people or we can disarm them by what we do with them in that initial contact and in the follow-up, okay? So we either can provoke them, okay, or we can disarm them. If we take the right path, we'll disarm them and prevent all those objections. But the first thing is this: the reason you provoke objections is because you try to recruit on the first conversation, rather than building a relationship with them that in turn follows up into a potential conversation about them becoming a challenger. So when I'm out in public, right, when we're out in public and we're getting that, maybe it does come up. If they bring up Beachbody, I want to get out of the conversation as fast as I can. That's the truth. I don't want to sit there and have a 30-minute conversation in the middle of friggin' Walmart with some guy with 3 teeth and long hair, looks like Billy Ray Cyrus, right? I want to get his information and get him connected to me on Facebook. So that I can, how many of you use Facebook? It's pretty much everybody, okay? Facebook is your store. It's the front window to your business, right? So I use that as a connector, bring them there, that's where they can see the rest of the story, all right? The second time we invite people is to become a challenger. And we have different approaches for that, right? One approach is simply, hey, I'm going to be running this challenge. I think you might be great for it. Have you ever considered, not being fat anymore? Maybe. I don't know. Another way to approach people that disarms them, how many of you would like to disarm the person and actually get a reply, right? Another way is to say, hey, listen, I don't know if this is for you or not. I don't know if this is for you or not, disarms them. Because it gives them an out. It gives them a reason to say no. Actually, I don't think it would be for you, but it might be for somebody that you know, and I was hoping you could help me. Write that down. I was hoping you could help me, right? When I say I'm hoping you can help me, I'm looking for 10 new people who need to lose at least 20 pounds or more in the next 60 to 90 days. Right? Does that make sense?
Referrals. This is all about referrals.
So I'm going to approach you, not to recruit you, but to get referrals from you to help. And I was wondering if you might know anybody that would fit that category that I should be talking with. You guys, you got that? Do you see how that works? Do you know how many people, if you send out 10 of those, and you send them all 10 of those people are 20 pounds or more overweight, how many of those 10 do you think will look at that and go, well, wait, that might be me. What is this about? You guys get that? Okay? So that's a way to approach it. And then the third situation is upgrading the coach. I know I got to get going. So step 1, step 2. There we go. Is building rapport, engaging with questions. Okay? That's the second step. So 1 is the invitation. Step 2 is this: slowing down, asking questions to evaluate. Think about a doctor's office. If you went into a doctor's office feeling sick and they came in with a needle and shot you in the arm first thing, that would suck. Right? What do? They come in and the first thing they do is they talk about life. Hey, how you doing? How you feeling today? Let me take your blood pressure. Let me take your temperature. They're collecting information so they can give you an appropriate recommendation. Shouldn't we do the same thing in our business? Shouldn't we slow down, ask some questions, evaluate to give an appropriate recommendation? When we do that, we're going to avoid objections. If the doctor comes in and sticks a needle in your arm, you've got all kinds of questions going on in your mind. Like, what the hell is this guy doing? Okay? So you can avoid that. Step 3 is connecting to a resource. I want you to write this down. The person asking questions wins. The person explaining loses. So whenever you find yourself explaining, you have 2 choices. And only 2 choices. Okay? If you're explaining, you need to either ask a question, shut up and listen, or if you can't get yourself to do that, then you need to get out of the conversation and connect them to a resource that explains it for you. Let the resource be. What is a resource? Who's got an example of a resource you can connect to? Well, Danny Johnson's one. How about a video? I'm talking Beachbody resources. The 100 Doctors Don't Lie. The book from the thing. Your website is a resource. A webinar is a resource. A third party, maybe someone with a story, right, is a resource. Connect them to a story. The story is the resource. I use the videos from the online library all the time. In fact, we took them out of the back office and created one YouTube page with like the top 10 videos for challenges, Shakeology, and coaching, so that our whole team can just go to that YouTube and pull them off and send them on Facebook, right? So we just simplified it. Boom, here it is. Okay, done. Are you using those videos, connecting people to them? Okay, step 4